Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we are strapping in for a culinary journey that I think promises to redefine how we think about a single ingredient category,
Hmm.
fruit. We are diving deep into a compilation of highly sought after, most wanted fruit recipes.
And this is so much more than a simple cookbook. It feels more like, an archaeological dig into the history of cuisine. The sources here give us this fascinating look at the sheer versatility of fruit, a versatility we seem to have, well, largely forgotten.
Right.
When you really examine the breadth of this collection, we are going far beyond your standard pies and simple fresh bowls. We're talking about complex dips, highly technical salads, deeply spiced baked goods, and what I find truly surprising, substantial savory entrees.
Exactly. Entrees where fruit is a central structural and flavor player, not just some sweet afterthought.
Not at all.
Absolutely. So our mission here is to act as your expert guides, extracting the most essential and frankly the most surprising culinary nuggets from this trove.
Yeah.
We need to move past just reciting ingredients and examine the why.
Yes, the why.
Why these specific ingredient combinations, why these unique preparation methods were deemed most wanted. It's about peeling back the layers of flavor and, understanding the technical tradition that underlies these recipes.
What's truly insightful here is the foundational approach to fruit. It feels like an approach that's been largely lost in modern cooking, which tends to just silo fruit into dessert.
Completely.
This collection emphasizes preservation, deep flavor integration, and crucially, utilizing fruit's acidity or sweetness to balance much heavier, often savory, elements like pork, chicken, or even sharp cheese.
So let's start with a high-level scan of the table of contents, looking at recipes 1 through 50, just to appreciate the enormous scope. It's like looking at a culinary map where every single regional style and era seems to be represented. And what immediately arrests the eye is the sheer, overwhelming, almost fanatical commitment to one specific baked good,
The fruitcake.
the fruitcake.
That obsession is unavoidable, and it's a brilliant window into the past. Fruitcake, in the context of these sought-after recipes, isn't a single item. It's an entire technical domain.
A whole domain.
Oh, yes. We see ambrosia fruitcake, applesauce fruitcake, Berkshire fruitcake, blonde fruitcake, and it's specifically noted as fat-free.
Huh.
Then there's buttermilk, Christmas pecan fruitcake, candied holiday fruitcake, chocolate fruitcakes, and banana fruitcake.
Wow, that is a staggering 8 distinct technical fruitcake recipes
Yeah.
just dominating the first half of this collection. 8 variations suggest that in the era this collection was compiled, fruitcake was not merely a seasonal novelty, it was a major pillar of baked goods cuisine, demanding extensive variation and highly specific, dedicated preparation methods.
And that speaks volumes about the value placed on long-lasting, high-density food sources.
It does.
If we connect this back to the broader picture of most wanted, it tells us that these highly valued recipes often required significant time, preservation techniques, and complex spicing. All things fruitcake just epitomizes.
Right. A recipe that lasts for months was historically far more valuable than a cake you consume in a day.
But moving away from that foundational baked good, the sources throw some truly brilliant curveballs in the savory category.
The savory surprises are where the real deep diving begins. We see fruit incorporated into main dishes in ways that absolutely defy modern expectations. The chicken category is particularly rich. We have chicken and fruit kebabs, chicken and fruit casserole, and chicken fruit pilaf.
And beer batter turkey.
Beer batter turkey, right.
And in that one, the apples are integrated directly into the frying process alongside the turkey slices, so they act as this soft, sweet contrast to the crisp, savory batter. It's brilliant.
But the recipe that I think best captures this robust, comprehensive savory integration has to be the chicken, pork, and fruit stew Mexican style.
Oh, that title alone signals immense complexity.
It does. It combines 3 different protein sources, chicken, pork, and almonds, with apples, bananas, and pineapple. This isn't a simple toss-in. This is a robust, complex main course that uses fruit not just for sweetness, but for essential components like texture, acidity, and structure to thicken and balance the stew base.
It's a complete meal built around the fruit.
Exactly.
It speaks to a culinary era when fruit was treated functionally, not just cosmetically. It wasn't siloed just into dessert.
And then you hit the truly niche recipes, the unique applications that make you just pause and reconsider the ingredients entirely.
For example,
Breadfruit donuts.
precisely, using an ingredient, breadfruit, that many might consider purely starchy or tropical, and turning it into a fried sweet treat. Then there's candied grapefruit peel, which highlights these rigorous, almost industrial preservation techniques common in this era of cooking that we rarely practice at home now.
Not at all.
And of course, chilled fruit soup, which sounds far more elegant and layered than a basic cold puree or a modern smoothie.
And this raises an important question about the collector's purpose. What kind of palate was this massive collection catering to? Because it swings pretty violently. We go from low-fat, highly convenient dips using artificial sweeteners like Equal, which just screams mid-century health consciousness,
Right.
to those marathon baking fruitcakes that require several hours of oven time and a month of curing.
It suggests a collection compiled over decades, or maybe drawing from highly varied regional and class tastes. It perfectly covers both the traditional labor-intensive preservation methods that signal self-sufficiency and the post-war mid-century push for speed, convenience, and health consciousness, which is visible in the quick recipes using low-fat yogurt and calorie substitutes. The landscape is indeed vast, bridging two completely different eras of home cooking philosophy.
Let's start right at the beginning of the source material with the lighter fare then. Recipes 1 through 7, beginning with the Ambrosia fruit dip on page 4. Even in this simple starter, we see specific ideological choices made about ingredients.
The Ambrosia fruit dip is a foundational study in conscious culinary lightening, which is unexpected in a collection dominated by butter and suet.
It really is.
The base requires 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, which provides the fat and texture, but that is immediately counterbalanced by 1 cup of plain yogurt, specifically low-fat. It includes vanilla and grated lemon zest for aroma, and critically, 14 packets of artificial sweetener Equal.
14 packets. That's a highly calculated dosage of artificial sweetener. It just reinforces that mid-century health-conscious or calorie-aware trend you noted.
Absolutely. It shows the recipe prioritizes sweetness above natural sugar content.
And the method itself is designed for maximum speed. Blending the yogurt and cheese until smooth, then blending in the vanilla, zest, and Equal, and finally chilling it thoroughly.
It's a very modern, quick appetizer designed to be smooth and cold, offering a lighter counterpoint to the heavy, fat-rich desserts that appear just a few pages later.
Right after that, we have Ambrosia fruit on page 5. This is the fruit salad version, but the preparation method is surprisingly intricate compared to, just dumping canned fruit into a bowl.
What's fascinating here is the small detail that adds significant depth of flavor complexity. The fruit list includes canned pineapple chunks, light syrup, a small amount of brown sugar, orange zest, coconut, and then 2 medium oranges and 2 medium-diced unpeeled apples.
Okay.
The instruction specifies draining the pineapple but saving a 1/4 cup of the juice.
Okay.
This reserved juice is then heated with the orange zest and sugar until the sugar has dissolved entirely.
So they're taking an extra 5 minutes to create a warm, concentrated, citrus-infused syrup right at the beginning, rather than just sprinkling sugar on top.
Precisely. The final fruit mixture, the fresh oranges, canned pineapple, and fresh apples, is combined with this warm juice mixture, stirred gently, and only then is it chilled and served with coconut sprinkled on top.
So it's an extra step to ensure the sugar is dissolved and the orange zest flavor is deeply infused into the liquid that ultimately coats all the fruit.
Exactly. It signals that even in a seemingly simple fruit bowl, the infusion time and technique are important.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. We snap from a quick dip and an infused fruit salad directly into the marathon project, the applesauce fruitcake on pages 6 to 7. This recipe demands a full stop and serious technical attention. Let's look at the sheer volume and complexity of the spice component alone.
The ingredient list is immense, but the core insight is the volume and the layering of flavor. We have a huge ratio of fruit, 2 and 13 cups of thick applesauce drained well, providing moisture, along with 2 pounds of seedless raisins.
2 pounds.
That's anchored by 2 flours, whole wheat and white, and held together by traditional binders like shortening, molasses, and eggs.
And the spice profile is what makes it so complex. You've got 3 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of allspice, 1 teaspoon of cloves, 2 teaspoons of ground nutmeg, and 1 teaspoon of mace.
That blend is a warming, deep, powerful flavor profile that defines traditional holiday baking.
It really is.
And the preparation method is a masterclass in managing density. First, the standard creaming of shortening and sugar, then adding the wet ingredients. The dry ingredients are combined, but the key technical move is dredging the 2 pounds of raisins in some of this flour mixture.
Dredging is the essential, non-negotiable step in fruitcake making. If you skip it, your heavy fruit sinks right to the bottom, creating a dense, raw layer.
It ruins the cake.
The flour coating provides surface tension and structure,
Yeah.
helping the batter hold the weight during that long thermal process.
Exactly. The instruction then details the structure, gradually adding the flour mixture to the batter, adding the coated raisins, and then building the cake in distinct layers.
So layers of batter, then nuts and citron, repeating, with batter as the topmost layer.
This layering ensures even distribution and prevents clumps. The sheer dedication is evident in the bake time, slowly at 300 to 325 degrees F for 2 hours.
A long, slow bake is critical for fully cooking such a moist, dense cake without burning the crust.
Definitely.
Having explored that 2-hour monument of fruit preservation, let's snap back immediately to the mid-century desire for instant nutrition. With the simple apricot fruit flip on page 8, it's a very specific, quick beverage.
It's essentially an early version of a high-power smoothie designed for immediate consumption. It uses 12 ounces of canned apricot nectar, a ripe banana, non-fat, dry instant milk again, a nod to that light-focused lemon juice, honey, and grated lemon zest.
And the key instruction hinges on the blending technique.
Right. Blend all liquids and solids, so the nectar, banana, milk, juice, honey, and zest first.
Okay.
Then, and only then, you add enough ice cubes to bring the total volume up to 4 cups of mixture. Blend it thoroughly until it's smoothened and serve at once. The focus here is getting that instant, cold, and high-nutrient blend stabilized by the dry milk powder.
Now, let's pivot back to savory territory, but with a highly spiced, unusual presentation. The apricot carrot salad with grapefruit mint on pages 9-10. This feels like a fusion of Mediterranean and North African spice routes, but updated with fresh herbs.
The ingredient list confirms that international flavor profile. You have lime juice, red wine vinegar, ground cumin, refined sugar, salt, white pepper, peanut oil, finely chopped garlic, grated ginger, 2 tablespoons of chopped grapefruit mint, and slivered dried apricots tossed with shredded carrots and romaine lettuce.
Grapefruit mint is a fascinating culinary inclusion here. It's not common, suggesting either a dedicated gardener or a very specific regional tradition.
The dressing detail is meticulous, and this is where the time investment comes in. You combine the vinegar, lime juice, cumin, salt, pepper, and sugar, and you whisk continuously while slowly adding the peanut oil to create a stable emulsion. Then you mix in the fresh garlic, grapefruit mint, and ginger.
And the crucial step, the one that elevates it above a quick vinaigrette, is that the dressing must stand for 1 and 12 hours.
That waiting period is vital. It allows the intense, fresh, volatile flavors of the garlic, ginger, and particularly that grapefruit mint to fully infuse the oil and vinegar base without being heated.
So it mellows the raw edge of the garlic and intensifies the aromatics.
Exactly. This salad requires patience. The preparation then involves shredding the carrots, tossing them with the slivered dried apricots and the rested dressing, and spooning the finished salad into chilled romaine lettuce leaves immediately before serving to maintain that crispness.
Moving to simpler assembly, the autumn food salad on page 11 stands out purely for its enormous scale.
It's simply massive volume. We're talking about 12 red apples, 11 Granny Smith apples, 11 sliced bananas, 12 Bartlett pears, and a half pound of red grapes.
That's 34 whole pieces of fruit plus a half pound of grapes.
Yeah.
This is not a family side dish. This is clearly a communal recipe designed to feed an entire harvest crowd or a very large gathering.
Oh yeah, it requires significant labor just in the slicing and coring.
And the dressing is traditional, relying heavily on warming spices to complement the autumn fruit. Vanilla yogurt, apple cider, a teaspoon of cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger. The finished dish is topped with toasted almond slivers for texture, a classic flavor profile, but demanding a lot of kitchen prep time.
And finally, for this section, the avocado and grapefruit salad on page 12 is the epitome of elegance achieved through minimal intervention.
It's a clean, simple arrangement. The recipe requires 1 medium-peeled avocado sliced into 8 wedges, 1 thinly sliced small red onion, 1 medium pink grapefruit, and 4 tablespoons of poppy seed sauce.
And the instruction is purely about precise assembly. Equal portions of grapefruit and avocado on 4 dishes, topped with onion slices and 1 tablespoon of sauce each.
No cooking, no complex spice mixes, just perfect ingredient selection and placement. The contrast between this recipe and the 2-hour fruitcake is staggering.
It really is.
Grapefruit appears so consistently and in such varied roles across this collection, from a simple breakfast fruit to a core marmalade ingredient and a bizarre savory pairing, that it really warrants its own dedicated focus. Let's start with the baked grapefruit on page 13.
This is immediately placed in a later era of cooking convenience due to its reliance on the microwave.
Right.
The preparation is meticulous but quick. You cut the grapefruits crosswise, remove the pits, and then, critically, you cut every section with a knife before baking. This ensures the fruit is ready to eat the moment it comes out of the heat.
Then, each half is sprinkled with 1 teaspoon of dark brown sugar and dotted with half a teaspoon of butter or margarine. The instruction is explicit. Microwave for 4 minutes without a cover. The final garnish is simple maraschino cherries.
It's a very fast, warm dessert, focusing purely on the combination of tart citrus, melting fat, and caramelized brown sugar.
If we contract that 4-minute convenience meal with the blushing grapefruit marmalade on page 22, we pivot back to an intensely complex, time-consuming preservation project demanding the highest level of technical skill.
This is serious jelly making. The core ingredients are 3 ruby red grapefruit, water, sugar, a lemon, a pinch of baking soda, and liquid pectin. The complexity starts immediately with the fruit preparation. You have to peel the fruit, remove as much of the bitter white pith as possible, and thinly slice the colorful rind.
Tooth removal is the foundation of quality marmalade.
Yeah,
If you leave it, the end product will be overwhelmingly bitter.
absolutely. The initial cooking involves boiling the water, soda, and rind for 20 minutes to soften it. Then you add the chopped, peeled fruit making sure to discard the seeds, which are the main source of bitterness, and simmer for another 10 minutes.
And the final stage is all about temperature control and setting.
Exactly. You reserve 3 cups of the fruit mix, add a massive volume of sugar 5 cups, and bring it to a full rolling boil for exactly 1 minute, stirring constantly.
That minute of hard boiling is necessary to activate the pectin, right?
Yeah.
To ensure the marmalade sets properly when it cools.
It's the critical step. The final, meticulous steps involve removing the mixture from the heat, adding the liquid pectin, and stirring and skimming the foam for about 7 minutes before finally jarring the product. This precision is a world away from the microwave instruction.
This is serious canning.
It is.
Let's consider the broiled grapefruit ambrosia on page 27, which offers a useful comparison to the simple baked version.
This one integrates navel oranges alongside the grapefruit. The preparation demands careful removal of the membrane and keel from both fruits. They are sliced crosswise and arranged alternately in a shallow baking dish, sprinkled with brown sugar and dotted with butter.
And the key distinction here is the heat source. Instead of a microwave, this goes under the broiler for 5 minutes until it's heated and lightly browned.
And here comes the quintessential ambrosia twist. After the broiling, it is sprinkled generously with shredded coconut and broiled again until the coconut is perfectly toasted.
Sounds good.
The combination of warm, melting fat, sweet citrus, and toasted coconut is a classic dessert profile achieved quickly under intense heat.
Now for the true, genuine culinary puzzle that demands we pause and reflect. The broiled grapefruit supreme on page 28. This recipe takes an unexpected turn that truly stands out in the entire source collection.
This is a spectacular collision of savory and sweet, traditional and, well, bizarre. The preparation starts conventionally, halving the grapefruit, loosening the sections, cutting a hole in the center, and filling it with 1.5 teaspoons of butter.
Okay.
It is dusted with sugar and sprinkled with a specific cinnamon sugar mixture, 1 part cinnamon to 4 parts sugar.
You broil that for 8 to 10 minutes until it's bubbly and brown. A luxurious breakfast, maybe?
But here is the twist that challenges our modern palate. The instruction mandates placing 1 cooked chicken liver in the center part of every broiled grapefruit half, lightly sprinkling it with sugar, and broiling for 2 more minutes.
A cooked chicken liver in the center of a hot, sugared, acidic grapefruit. This is not just unconventional, it's an intellectual exercise in flavor.
It is, and it provides a critical insight. This is a clear, deliberate attempt to incorporate an intensely savory, earthy, high-fat component, the liver, into a sweet and acidic fruit base.
So it's probably a very vintage appetizer or breakfast course, offering a sweet, sour, savory profile that is highly unconventional today.
It's a foundational nugget showing just how far this collection was willing to push fruit beyond our expectations.
It definitely raises an important question about flavor profiles we've forgotten. Finally, let's revisit the candied grapefruit peel on page 34, which is another example of intense preservation technique dedicated solely to removing bitterness.
The instructions here are incredibly specific and rigorous. The goal is to remove the bitterness and achieve that clear, candied texture. The process begins with soaking the peel in ice water, boiling it until tender, draining it, and frequently replacing the water.
This repeated boiling, draining, and shocking is the only way to effectively leach out the bitterness and soften that thick outer peel.
Then comes the tedious part.
Right.
Physically removing the inner white pith using a spoon, followed by cutting the peels into small star shapes or thin strips for visual appeal.
Right.
The candying process involves creating a syrup by boiling 2 cups of sugar with 1 cup of water. They even suggest adding food color green or red drops, which shows an emphasis on presentation. The peel is cooked over low heat until it becomes translucent and clear.
And the final texture step is crucial. The strips are removed, drained, and rolled in a final cup of sugar until well coated.
And the final instruction solidifies its role as a preserved good, storing them for a minimum of 30 days in sealed containers placed in a dry and cool place.
That's a month-long commitment for a small sweet treat, demonstrating the value placed on long-term confection storage.
Given the density of the fruitcake recipes, we need to move beyond simple recitation and focus on the technical differences between these giants. These are not simple bakes, they are complex projects, starting with the banana fruitcake on pages 14-15.
The core insight here is that this cake uses mashed bananas to achieve a unique level of moisture, which requires a complex structure of flours and extracts to hold it all up. It has a massive ingredient list, but let's focus on the ratios. 5 cups of dried fruit and nuts, including dates, walnuts, and candied fruit, stabilized by a dense ratio of flour to the 1.5 cups of moist, mashed bananas.
And the method hinges entirely on managing that moisture and volume. The fruit and nut mix is first dredged with a portion of the flour, which prevents the dense ingredients from sinking.
Of course.
The remaining flour is sifted with a significant spice and leavener blend. The key technical complexity is the alternation, blending the sifted flour mix and the mashed bananas alternately into the creamed butter, sugar, and egg mixture.
That alternation is vital for banana cakes. It ensures the dense banana moisture is evenly incorporated without overdeveloping the gluten by mixing it all at once, which could result in a tough cake.
Exactly. And the long bake, 2 hours and 15 minutes at 300 degrees F, is a necessity to gently cook the banana's moisture profile without drying out the edges.
Then we get to the Berkshire fruitcake on pages 18-19, which emphasizes classic ingredients and extreme refinement in flour handling. This cake features an enormous fruit load, 9 cups of currants and raisins, plus molasses and citron.
The ceremonial preparation detail here is stunning. The instruction calls for the cake flour, spices, mace, cloves, cinnamon salt, and baking powder to be sifted together thrice.
3 times.
Thrice. Sifting once is standard for aeration. Sifting 3 times indicates an almost fanatical dedication to achieving the absolute lightest possible texture to support that massive amount of fruit.
A pursuit of perfection in crumb structure.
It is. The method specifies creaming the butter and sugar until fluffy, adding 6 well-beaten eggs, then blending in the juice and molasses. The thrice-sifted flour is added gradually, beating well after every addition. The fruit is folded in last.
And the baking commitment matches the prep. The batter is poured into a greased tube pan, lined with greased thick paper, and then baked at an extremely low temperature, 250 degrees F, for 4.5 hours.
That low and slow approach guarantees deep flavor development and moisture retention over that half-day bake.
Moving to a fascinating modern adaptation, the blonde fruitcake, fat-free, on pages 20-21, provides a contrasting technique that solves the heavy fruit problem with structural substitution.
The fat substitution is the core insight. No butter, no shortening. Instead, the fat is replaced by 1 cup of applesauce and 1 cup of egg whites.
Okay.
The recipe relies on dried fruits, peaches, apricots, and candied pineapples, which are cut into half-inch dice and coated thoroughly with flour.
And the preparation involves blending the egg whites, applesauce, and extracts, and then carefully stirring the pre-coated dried fruit mix and the flour mix just until thoroughly blended.
It's a very sensitive batter. The goal is to mix as little as possible to maintain the air whipped into the egg whites and prevent the flour from overdeveloping.
But the truly technical part, necessary due to the lack of stabilizing fat, is the long-term preservation and curing instruction.
After baking for 3 hours at 250 degrees and cooling, the cake is removed, and a small cheesecloth is soaked in orange-flavored liquor. This cheesecloth is wrapped over the cake, which is stored in the fridge in tightly covered containers for at least 1 month.
And the instruction further suggests occasionally adding more liqueur during its cure.
This reliance on alcohol infusion and refrigeration for structure is a direct result of omitting traditional fat. It's a minimum 30-day waiting period for consumption.
That is dedication to flavor refinement, but also necessary engineering to compensate for the fat removal. Next, the buttermilk Christmas pecan fruitcake on pages 30-31 showcases another high level of technical precision, particularly regarding aeration through egg handling.
This recipe uses 2 cups of buttermilk and 3 cups of chopped dried pears. The critical instruction is to separate the 4 large eggs. The yolks are added to the creamed butter and sugar, mixing in the buttermilk, vanilla, and the dry ingredients gradually.
And the whites are the structural element.
Exactly. The method requires beating the egg whites until they form moist, glossy peaks. This is the introduction of controlled air.
Right.
The final mixing technique is the crucial part. Folding 1/3 of the egg whites into the batter, first to lighten the density, and then carefully and gradually folding in the rest of the egg whites until the mixture is fully lightened.
That careful folding technique is essential for achieving a fine, stable, and less dense crumb structure than the Berkshire cake.
And we noted the thermal adjustment. Preheat to 400 degrees, then immediately drop to 350 for the 65-minute bake. That initial blast of high heat helps set the structure quickly before settling into a slower, more even bake.
Finally, let's look at the candied holiday fruitcake on pages 35-36, which is defined by its scale and its focus on purely candied components: cherries, orange peel, and pineapples plus pecans.
The sheer volume of coating flour is the key insight. The recipe divides the flour. 3 pounds of flour used to coat the fruits and nuts, ensuring every piece of the over 5 cups of fruit and nuts is individually separated.
Sure.
The remaining portion of flour is sifted with the leaveners for the actual cake batter.
This extreme dedication to coating highlights the cook's anxiety about the fruit sinking in a butter-rich batter.
And the scale is also notable. The recipe specifies baking the batter in 12-bump pans for 2.5 hours at 250 degrees. This isn't for a single family. This is a recipe intended for organized gifting or mass holiday consumption.
We've established that fruit is a heavy hitter in the dessert category, but Section 5 is where it truly shines in the savory kitchen. Let's delve into the applications, starting with the beer batter turkey on page 17. This combines deep frying with fruit, which is a surprisingly elegant concept.
The ingredients here focus on a simple, crisp batter base: flour, baking powder, salt, pepper, and crucially 34 cups of flat beer. The use of flat beer is a specific technical instruction. It ensures the batter doesn't foam excessively during mixing, which would lead to a weak, uneven crust when frying.
And the fruit integration is structural. Cooked turkey slices and small pieces of peeled, cored, and sliced apple are dipped into the smooth batter and fried until golden brown.
The fruit acts as both a flavor element, softening the heat, and a structural contrast to the chewy turkey.
But the accompanying sauce completes the profile. It's a quick, simple blend of jellied cranberry sauce and honey, beaten until smoothened and served as a dip.
This emphasizes the classic, traditional savory sweet profile of poultry and cranberry, elevated here into a fried appetizer format.
Now let's move into the realm of complex sauces and marinades, with the chicken and fruit kebabs, with mustard leek sauce on pages 38-39. This uses 3 soft fruits alongside chicken in a skewer format.
This is a structured recipe balancing protein, acidity, and heat. The kebabs themselves use boneless chicken breasts threaded alternately with medium-pitted peaches, small bananas, and pitted plums. They are then sprayed with veggie cooking spray and lightly seasoned with a dash of curry before grilling.
So the fruit softens and caramelizes under the heat, forming a sticky crust.
Exactly. The mustard leek sauce, however, is the technical highlight. It starts with sautéing the leeks, then mixing in chicken broth, white vinegar, Dijon mustard, pepper, and curry. Once boiled, the mixture is thickened using a cornstarch, slurry cornstarch mixed with cold water, which must be boiled and stirred constantly for a minute.
And the critical modern detail is the use of artificial sweetener, NutraSweet. The instruction mandates blending in the 2 tablespoons of NutraSweet after the pan is removed from the heat and allowed to stand for 2-3 minutes.
If artificial sweeteners are boiled, their flavor profile often degrades, so this technique preserves the desired sweet taste without the calorie count.
So the fruit on the skewer caramelizes naturally, and the sauce delivers savory complexity with that modern zero-calorie sweetness, a convergence of old and new techniques.
What's fascinating is the sheer range of global influences, evident in the chicken with fruit and almonds on pages 43-44. The spice profile here screams of a Middle Eastern or South Asian-inspired dish.
The ingredient list is exotic and intense. Saffron, aniseeds, coriander, ginger, and chili seasoning, balanced by lemon juice, grated zest, and the key fruit element. 2 tablespoons of damson plum jam.
The preparation involves a complex infusion of coconut milk. You combine coconut and milk, bring it to a boil, remove it, and allow it to stand for 30 minutes. The mixture is then drained, and the coconut solids are pressed tightly to squeeze out extra moisture.
So they are essentially making a high-fat, rich coconut cream infusion and then reserving the flavorful solids to reintegrate later.
It ensures the deep, rich flavor of the coconut without adding excessive texture to the final simmer. The cooking involves browning chicken, combining all the spices, the infused milk, blanched whole almonds, and the reserved coconut solids for a final 10-minute simmer.
And the damson plum jam acts as the sweet/acidic fruit element, blending seamlessly into the exotic aromatic stew served over heated cooked rice.
The chicken with fruit and mixed mustards on pages 46-47 is another example of fruit used for presentation and pairing, but with a highly specific, complex, pungent sauce.
The sauce base is extremely unique. A triple threat of 13 cup of Bavarian mustard, 12 cup of Dijon mustard, and 1 tablespoon of Chinese mustard, blended with light cream and honey.
That's an intense, varied mustard flavor.
It is. Half of this mixture is used to marinate the chicken breast halves for 30 minutes. The chicken is cooked in foaming margarine, sliced thinly, and arranged with the fresh, cooling fruit, sliced kiwi, melon balls, and cantaloupe.
The reserved mustard mix is placed in a small saucepan, and the mayonnaise is whisked in carefully, then heated thoroughly. This hot, creamy, triple mustard, cream, and honey sauce is then drizzled hot over the cooked chicken and the chilled fresh fruit slices.
So the fruit serves as an absolutely necessary cooling, fresh, and visually appealing counterpoint to the powerful, pungent heat of the sauce.
Let's move to the real slow-cook masterpiece of this section, the chicken and fruit casserole on pages 48-49. This recipe is a complex, layered stew that shows fruit used structurally for flavor and body.
This is a meal that takes over an hour and a half to cook and requires significant spice preparation. The volume is large, 4.5 pounds of chicken cuts.
And the vegetables and fruit are diverse. Tomatoes, thinly sliced white onion, a small sliced apple, a small sliced pear, and plantains, plus salty elements like olives and capers.
And the spice prep is intensely focused. Grinding peppercorns, cinnamon, and cloves in a spice mill and mixing them with sherry, sugar, garlic, and salt to create a concentrated spice vinegar mix.
The construction is key. The casserole is built in layers in a crock pot. 1/3 of the onion, tomatoes, fruit, the apple and pear and chicken, followed by the dry seasonings, and half of the prepared spice vinegar mix. This layering is repeated.
It's cooked covered for an hour, then uncovered for 30 minutes to reduce the liquid, signaling the concentration of flavors.
The final touch provides the necessary textural contrast, frying the plantain slices until deeply golden brown and covering the stew top with the crunchy plantain, capers, and olives immediately before serving. This elevates the dish from a simple stew to a complex, savory, and slightly sweet experience with varying textures.
Next, we have the Burmese-style coconut-spiced fruit rice on page 29, showing another distinct geographical culinary approach.
This is an aromatic side dish. The spice blend is different again. Powdered curry, powdered cloves, ground turmeric, and cinnamon powder combined with grated coconut and bay leaves and mixed into 4 cups of cooked rice.
And the method involves a specific technical step to flavor the oil and brown the onions without excessive grease. You combine a small amount of water, oil, and onion in a large skillet over high heat. Cook and stir until the water evaporates and the onions brown slightly.
This concentrates the onion flavor and slightly caramelizes them before adding the rest of the ingredients. Then the rest of the water, the rice, and that intense spice blend are poured in, covered, and cooked until well heated.
Removing the bay leaves before serving is the final instruction, leaving behind an aromatic, spicy, and slightly sweet rice dish.
And finally, for the savory section, cold fruited chicken on pages 64-65, a highly structured cold salad where flavor infusion is paramount.
The ingredients for this cold dish feature dry apricots, dry white wine, red wine vinegar, onions, and unsweetened orange juice, all combined with cooked chicken breast, toasted almonds, fresh orange segments, and grapes.
The dressing process is critical because of the dried fruit. The apricots, vinegar, juice, wine, and onions are combined in a saucepan, boiled, and then set aside to cool completely.
That boiling step serves a dual purpose. It softens the dry apricots so they absorb the liquid, and it allows the flavors of the wine and vinegar to meld intensely with the onion and juice during the cooling process.
Once cooled, the apricot mix is combined with all the other ingredients: chicken, orange segments, grapes, parsley, almonds, and seasoning. It must be covered and chilled for 1 to 2 hours before being spooned onto the red lettuce leaves. This is a very structured dish where time for flavor infusion is just as important as the ingredients themselves.
Pivoting back toward the sweet side, but still finding surprising pairings, let's explore the quick desserts and snacks, starting with the Calico fruit cookie bars on pages 32-33.
These bars are designed for high yield and moisture retention. They require a rich base of oil, eggs, and sugar, mixed with walnuts, diced bananas, cinnamon, maraschino cherries, and crucially, 8 ounces of crushed pineapple that is undrained.
Including the pineapple juice is the key to that moist, dense bar texture. Mixing all the ingredients together and spreading them into a large jelly roll pan, baking for 30-40 minutes at 350, indicates this is a high-volume, relatively quick bake focused on efficiency.
And the glaze simply focuses on achieving a nice spreading consistency with powdered sugar, butter, and water.
Now, for the real shocker in the dessert section, the cheddar fruit drops cookie on page 37. We need a moment to genuinely appreciate this combination.
I agree.
Wait, I have to stop you. The primary ingredients for this cookie are 1½ cups of shredded sharp cheddar cheese, combined with 1/4 cup of chopped maraschino cherries and 8¼ ounces of drained crushed pineapple.
Yes, sharp cheddar cheese in a cookie with maraschino cherries and pineapple. This challenges everything we currently understand about flavor profiles. It's a true culinary anomaly.
The method follows standard cookie protocol, creaming butter and sugars, adding egg and vanilla, blending dry components,
Yeah.
but then incorporates the fruits and the sharp cheddar cheese into the dough.
The sharp, salty, umami note of the cheese is designed to contrast sharply with the intense sweetness and tang of the cherries and pineapple. It's dropped by spoonfuls and baked at 375 for 15 minutes. That combination must have been a flavor bomb, but it certainly challenges our modern expectations of what a cookie is.
It speaks to a very specific, experimental mid-century taste. Shifting to chocolate, the chocolate-covered fruits or nuts on page 56 is an exercise in basic dipping technique, emphasizing proper preparation.
The ingredients are simple. Milk chocolate and margarine, used to coat various dried and fresh candidates, orange sections with the membrane intact, unhulled strawberries, cherries with stems, and Brazil nuts.
The method demands melting the chocolate and margarine in a double boiler, which is the necessary slow, indirect heat technique to prevent the chocolate from seizing or scorching.
Crucially, the instruction mandates immersing completely dried fruits or nuts into the melted chocolate.
This detail is paramount for successful dipping. Any moisture introduction will cause the chocolate to seize instantly, turning it grainy and unusable for coating. They have to be dried thoroughly and chilled until firm on greased sheets.
The chocolate fondue with fruit and cake on page 57 offers a communal indulgence with a particularly rich and interesting base.
The fondue base is intense. Butter, sugar, half and half, and a large 6 ounces of unsweetened chocolate. The instruction calls for a lot of salt, 1½ cups of salt, though we suspect that might be a significant error in the transcription,
I would think so.
potentially meant to be something else, or a very specific technique for texture or preservation. If it were 1½ cups of sugar, the ratio would be more balanced. Regardless, the intent is high sweetness and deep chocolate flavor.
Assuming the intent was sweetness, the method focuses on slow cooking. You melt the chocolate and butter, add the dry components in half and half, and boil slowly over medium heat, stirring constantly for 5 minutes until thickened.
For serving convenience, the instruction notes it can be refrigerated and then reheated slowly in the microwave for 20 to 30 seconds, stirring in the orange liqueur just before dipping the cake cubes, marshmallows, and fresh fruit.
The chocolate fruit balls as candy on page 58 brings us back to dedicated, dense-shaped treats, focusing on the preservation aspect of dried fruit.
These are dense, chewy candies made from a mix of chopped dry apricots, sultanas, raisins, and grated dark chocolate, enhanced by orange zest and butter.
The preparation involves mixing the core ingredients and rolling them into balls, which must be refrigerated overnight. The coating requires breaking the extra dark chocolate into small pieces and melting it with butter in a double boiler until smooth. The chilled balls are then dipped.
The pre-chilling is essential for structural integrity, allowing the soft fruit balls to withstand the heat and moisture of the melted coating without collapsing.
Finally, the cookie fruit preserve bars on page 66 have a focus on a textural base using uncooked oats.
The base mixture, which contains butter, flour, brown sugar, baking soda, oats, and almond extract, is spread evenly into the pan. But the crucial structural detail is extending the mixture 1/2 inch up the outer edges.
This creates a supportive, firm crust to contain the wet fruit preserve filling during the baking process at 375 degrees for 22 to 25 minutes.
Let's wrap up with the highest volume recipe and two intensely traditional options. Starting with Freddy's Fruit Cocktail Mix on page 68, this is a lesson in large batch freezer preparation and preservation.
This is a massive operation designed for freezer longevity. The goal wasn't just volume, but year-round fruit access. The recipe blends nearly 10 pounds of seasonal fruits, watermelon balls, 2 chunked Crenshaw melons, 3 pounds of chunked peaches, 2 chunked cantaloupes, 3 pounds of green grapes, and 1 pound of fresh blueberries.
A huge variety of fresh fruit. The method involves creating a rich, sweet syrup base by boiling the 4 cups of sugar with 2 quarts of water, and then adding the frozen orange juice and lemonade concentrates.
All the fresh fruits are mixed, and the process involves pouring the heated syrup over the mixed fruits in 12 one-pint containers, leaving a half-inch of headspace. Blending thoroughly before storing in the freezer is necessary to ensure the syrup completely coats and preserves every piece of fruit.
It's a very efficient, large-scale preservation technique.
The fruit medley punch on page 72, by contrast, is a simple assembly piece relying on pre-made bases and festive presentation.
Ingredients include chilled apricot nectar, frozen strawberries, frozen orange juice, lemon juice, ginger ale, sugar, and the beautiful, decorative Delarobia ice ring. It's simply combine all ingredients, mix thoroughly, add the ice ring, and serve immediately.
Fast, convenient, and highly festive.
Next, the fruit pizza on pages 73 and 74, a dessert that requires distinct stages: a baked crust, a creamy filling, a fresh fruit layer, and a clear glaze.
The structural complexity lies in the glaze. It requires cooking orange juice, lemon juice, water, cornstarch, sugar, and salt over medium heat until boiling and thick, and then it must be cooled completely before use.
The base is simple sugar cookie dough baked at 300 degrees for 10 minutes and cooled.
The cream cheese filling is beaten and spread over the cool dough. The fresh fruit, peaches, grapes, bananas, strawberries, kiwi is arranged meticulously from the outer part towards the center. The crucial final step is pouring the completely cooled glaze over the fruit before refrigerating for 1 to 2 hours.
That cooling and chilling ensures the glaze sets cleanly and doesn't immediately wilt or discolor the fresh fruit.
Finally, we end this deep dive with the extremely traditional fruit pudding on page 75, a dense, steamed bake.
This is a historical marker in this collection. The ingredients are classic: raisins, molasses, milk, flour, and a heavy spice blend of allspice, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg. But the essential ingredient for structure and fat content is 1 cup of chopped suet.
Suet raw beef or mutton fat is the traditional binding and moisture agent here, common in deeply historical puddings and mincemeat. Its inclusion immediately contrasts with the low-fat yogurt and applesauce we saw earlier.
For sure.
The method involves combining all ingredients, lastly adding in the soda. The key cooking method, demanding high patience, is steaming for 3 hours in a tightly covered, greased mold, ensuring a moist, incredibly dense texture.
And it's recommended to be served with brown sugar pudding sauce.
Of course.
So what does this all mean? We've gone from 4-minute microwave convenience to 4.5-hour slow-baked fruit cakes that require a month of curing. The key culinary takeaway here is the depth of technical complexity that the category of fruit recipes holds. It goes far beyond simple desserts and shows fruit used as a foundational structural ingredient.
Absolutely. We've seen sophisticated techniques utilized across the board: extremely slow cooking and meticulous layering in the chicken and fruit casserole, technical fat substitution using applesauce and egg whites in the blonde fruitcake, necessary preservation techniques for marmalades and candied peels, and of course, those truly unexpected savory pairings.
Like marrying an earthy chicken liver with broiled sugared grapefruit or integrating sharp cheddar cheese into a sweet cookie dough. Connecting the dots, the entire collection emphasizes preservation as a primary goal. Heavy, warming spicing. We saw mace, cloves, cinnamon, anise, allspice, and saffron used technically and precise structuring through methods like dredging, layering, and meticulous temperature control. This isn't just basic home cooking, it's technical cookery that was valued precisely because it was difficult and long-lasting.
These recipes show fruit used as a structural stabilizer, a savory marinade component, a candy coating, and a cornerstone of baked goods requiring days of curing and planning. It forces us to reconsider how we approach food categories and whether we've lost culinary ground by limiting fruit to only a few roles.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to go on. We've seen fruit used with incredible versatility across appetizers, main courses, and preserved goods in this collection, yet today we largely restrict it to breakfast or dessert. What other common food category, perhaps a vegetable, a grain, or even a type of poultry, do we similarly restrict in our modern daily cooking? failing to utilize its full culinary potential across all courses, much like our ancestors utilized the apricot or the grapefruit.
Something to think about.
Think about that the next time you reach for a quick side salad.